Hi. This is basically me doing my first YouTube video. It's not really, well, as I was recording my screen, it wasn't intended so much to be instructional, but if you learned something from it, that'd be super. So right now, I'm just referencing the picture of Kristen Stewart, who plays the character of Bella from Twilight. I've got it next to my screen in Photoshop, and I'm just using like a pink brush. Set with the opacity at 100% just to basically flesh out and sketch out the face so that I can use that as a reference for when I'm actually coloring everything. For this, a lot of people just trace the photos, and I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not going to be like, tracing is bad, yakety smackety. But I just feel like, I don't know, if I wanted a copy of a picture, I would just do a paint over. I don't think that, I don't know, it enhances your talents in any way. And, that's not always the purpose of doing one of these sorts of things, so that's perfectly fine. But this is just the way I like to do it. I like to flex the muscles, see if I can get as close as possible. And as you can see, like right now, her chin's a little weird, and her lips are a little bigger than they should be, and yada yada yada. But as I go along, and when I pull this into Illustrator to trace the lines, I'll go ahead and tweak those little problems. So I'm just about done with Kristen Stewart. I'm fixing her nose right now because it was a little small, and she's got kind of a honker on her, but she's a really cute girl. So anyway, just drawn. Okay, it's Edward time, yay! So this is Rob Pattinson. Now, when I was looking for a reference picture of Edward Cullen, as Rob Pattinson as Edward Cullen with Bella, I could never really find anything that was like super great of the two of them. They were always just like side, his face was to the side and her face was a different way, and it was like, their promo photos were all romantic and stuff, but I wanted to at least kind of front on shot, so I just grabbed a picture I found on the internet of him just being like cute and regular and stuff, and I figured I would just take another image of him as Edward Cullen to reference the hair. His face is really hard to get because he's not really traditionally handsome per se. I mean, he's really good looking, but his features are kind of wonky, but it all comes together really nicely. So I had to play around with this one a little bit. You'll see as I'm drawing it, it doesn't 100% look exact, but as I pull it into Illustrator, I'll just tweak the pieces, just use the lasso tool to kind of pull things around so that it actually looks a little bit more like him. So anyway, yeah, that's that. I'm just almost done. And I don't normally use, I'm a Photoshop baby, so I'm a little lazy when it comes to Adobe Illustrator. It's a great program for vectoring, but this is actually one of the first pictures where I've pulled my sketch from Photoshop into Illustrator to do the lines. I feel like maybe I'll want to do something with this at a later date, and I just would like to have vector versions of the line art. So this is me pulling it into Photoshop. I just copied and pasted it into a new file. I'm not going to go through the whole steps of how to do line work in Illustrator because it's just this. You just use the pen tool, and I did a fill. You can make a custom brush, with tapered ends, but I just did that fill. So this is the finished Illustrator sketch, and now I pulled it back into Photoshop because I'm more comfortable coloring in Photoshop, and I like the airbrush effects. Right now I'm using the Photoshop pen tool to fill in, to block out the color. So I filled in the skin and, the different colors on everyone. I used a different layer for the skin and the hair and the shirt just because I like to keep things separate. For more painterly look, some people like to do it all at once, but I know I'm a huge screw-up, so, I like to keep it apart so that I don't hurt myself in the end. So anyway, now I'm just fleshing in, the big bold chunks of color. I scribbled some color palettes up at the top so I could have reference colors. And now I'm using the smudge tool with a spattered brush to just kind of smudge the colors together. I mean, this isn't the only way to do it, obviously. You could use a spatter brush as you paint it on and just do it in layers like that. But I just like to, I came up on the smudge tool, and it's, a lot of people vilify it and say, oh, it's terrible, yada yada. But if you use the right brush, it can make a really good effect. I try to keep things kind of loosey-goosey and make it look a little bit strokey. So just skip through to having done all that because, once you do one part, it's all the same. I added a little bit of paint to her skin where her blush is, and now I'm adding highlights. I use kind of a turquoisey, like a really light, bluish, creamy, greenish color because, I don't know, she's kind of pale, and it that really brings out the skin tone, I think. So now it's Edward time. I decided to go for a lighter base on him because what I had started with was a little dark. So now I'm just, doing the same thing I did with Bella. I'm going to skip through to just having it done real quick. So we'll just pretend that I did it all really fast. So there you go. I put some blue under his eyes. Right now it looks really creepy. But for Edward, he's gonna be a little more porcelain and shiny than Bella is. So I kind of wanted the difference between like the light and shadow to be really pronounced. And I just put a little bit of red on his ear. And now I'm pinking up his cheeks to kind of give him that cute little boy look. I didn't so much reference the skin colors of any of those photos because I kind of wanted to keep a more cartoony feel because these are fictional characters, but at the same time make it look a little bit painted. So you can see from the beginning sketch, I had flattened out his nose a little bit. I did that in Illustrator to kind of fix the way that he looks. It's obviously still not perfect, but, we do what we can. So here I am doing his teeth, which is always very interesting. A lot of people make the mistake of just making, like, dark black lines to separate the teeth, and then it looks like they're rolling around with these, like, huge gaps. So you have to keep it really subtle, or else his teeth will look even worse than they do. Not that he has bad teeth, they're very cute, but kind of imperfect, so it's a little difficult to work with. Also, you don't want to make people's teeth perfectly white. You might think from looking at it, ew, his teeth are brown, but when all the other colors come together, it looks like it's supposed to look. If he had perfectly white teeth, they would look abnormal in his mouth, and it wouldn't look like they were behind lips and having shadows falling on them and all that good stuff. So, just trying to keep it real. So I'll just keep doing that. If you're wondering what song I'm listening to, I've just got my iPod on in the background, but before that it was Until We Bleed by Lykke Li, and right now you're listening to AM 180 by Grandaddy. So I'll keep you posted on what's going on, and I'll probably post it in my comment section because people are curious. So lip time. This looks crazy at first. It looks really clownish, very pink, but I just put it all in there and then work it down as we're going along. So now we're just adding some highlights. I picked some colors from around his skin, like the shadow color, because you really want to blend the end of the lips into the flesh tone, because it's more, the edges aren't as saturated as the center, so I'm just kind of blending that out. I want to make his lips kind of maroony bluish. You can see in the bottom picture of him that's kind of obscured, his lips have like a purpley tone to them because he's dead. So yeah, dead guy, purple lips, cool. So now I'm just using the smudge tool to give some texture to the lips. I'm not really getting too detailed with it because, again, I don't want it to look like a painting of these two people, or a perfect picture, replica of the images. So I want to keep it cool. Just adding some more colors, blending them out, fun times. This is Breaking It Up by Lykke Li. The song. Adding highlights. Good times. So you can see as the color of the lips goes on, those teeth really brighten up so they don't look so grungy. So now I'm coloring the lines. I'm sure you're wondering what I was going to do with these big old black lines from Illustrator. But I'm just going through and coloring them and smudging them out. So they kind of, again, I like having some lines in there, but I don't want it to look like I just colored a coloring book, because then you will have your coloring not so much going with your line work, which isn't very good. So there we go. Eyebrow time. So on his eyebrows, that was included in the line work, as you could see, but no one has, even though, thank God, they plucked his eyebrows up for the film because they were a little unruly, but no one has perfect eyebrows, so you have to make them look a little hairy. I'm not getting in there and drawing individual hairs and going crazy with it. I'm just using the smudge tool. I took the preserved transparency off of my lines layer. Preserved transparency basically means that you can't color outside of the lines that you've already created. So I took that off, and now I'm smudging out the edges to give the illusion of hair. Eyebrows are really tricky because the hair, especially for guys, goes in two different directions. So you have to kind of, meet in the middle at some point. So I'm just smudging things out. I'm trying to make it look a little bit more natural. We're going to have to cut this video short and go into a second part. So that is basically the skin and the eyebrows, and we'll continue this on the next one. Thank you for checking out part 1 of my Twilight fan art.